Hello friends, it's Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. It's been a while since I've done a flip through of my Traveler's Notebook inserts. I have completed a first insert and then started a second one. So a lot of these I have posted on Instagram. I've done quite a few, 3 or 4 process videos on some of the pages, but then other ones I haven't really talked about or done much with. So I thought I'd pop on today and maybe show you a couple of the things that I've been doing. So I've already flipped through most of this journal. I'll link in the description below to my first flip through. But this is where I left off, and for those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. This is a traveler's notebook that I found at a thrift store, and it kind of was inspiring because I'd been wanting to try it, but I was a little intimidated, and so since I found it at a thrift store, I thought I'd go ahead and give it a whirl. I started this back in January, around the 21st of January, and so I have taken off with it and I absolutely love it. So this was where I left off from the last time. This was just a book page because I make my own inserts, so this was a book page. I used the original illustrations. I just did a little bit of journaling. There wasn't too much that I had to say on this particular day, but then the next day there was a lot more things that I had on my mind, so I went ahead and filled in with just some doodling. I think I did some little bit of a watercolor wash there, added a sticky note with the to-do list, and then just a label from some of my tea that I had. Then this was a page that I had watercolored. It was just a blank, I think it was a piece of cardstock that I'd put in my journal, and I had watercolored it. And one of the things I needed to do was get off the couch in the weekend that was coming up, because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to do, but you know how February is, like you just kind of sit there and don't want to do anything on the weekends because it's so blah outside. So I put this little saying in there that I came up with, and I'm like, if you want to get something done, you gotta get off the couch. And I had a stamp of a couch. I stamped it on a piece of paper. I think this was a security envelope. Cut it out and stuck it in here, and then just added a page from, I think this was a field guide for birds and butterflies. And then this was just a silly picture of me that I had taken of myself at school. This was just a big to-do list that I had of some upcoming events that I needed to take care of, and I wrote them down and was very diligent about making sure I did them. This was a book page that I found from an old children's book. It was a really small book about this big, and I just put that on there because I thought it was cute. On this page over here, so this was a piece of note pad paper that the other part I think is right here. So this was a tape transfer that I had done, and if you're interested in how to do a tape transfer, if you let me know, put it in the comments or whatever, I can show you. They are the absolute easiest way to transfer images, and they give you such a cool effect, and you can use all kinds of different tapes. But I had a beautiful email from a customer of mine, and she wrote to me telling me what she had bought one of my books for, and it brought tears to my eyes. So I had already watercolored over this note paper, so I printed it out, and then I did a packing tape transfer, and I think this was 2 pieces of tape, and then put the tape over my watercolor, and it just kind of gives this cool effect because you can see the paint through the background, and then I can still read her email and my reply to her. And then because this was about a book, Winnie the Pooh book she had bought from me, I just cut a little image from Winnie the Pooh book and put it on there. Then this was a page where this was the back of the note paper, so there were already some flowers on here. This already had like a yellow background, so I had taken some pieces of wrapping paper that I had and just glued those down, and didn't really like where it was going. So I took some white out because that's all I had at the time. And I just started putting white out on here, and then just started covering up things that I had done. Like, I make messes all the time. Sometimes I like them and I keep them that way, but then sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awful. So I just started adding more stuff to it until I got to a point where I was happy with it. So this was literally layers and layers of whiteout and paper and paint pens, some stickers, some doodling. I did finally get some paints and started putting some paints on here. And then once I started to like what I had, then I went ahead and just kind of put, this is a sweet little quote that I love. I always love reading this quote. Comparison is the thief of joy by Theodore Roosevelt. I think those are great words to live by. So I stuck that on there. And then this page over here is just some flowers that I had drawn, and then my journaling where I just started to write in between all of the empty spaces. And I can't read my handwriting. I don't even know what I wrote here, but this is one of those times where I don't need to go back and read my journaling. Sometimes I journal because I want to remember something, and that's kind of like scrapbooking or keeping a diary. Other times I want to journal just because I need to get things out. And this was one of those times. And when I journal on topics that I just need to get out, like I need to vent, I don't need to go back and read those. In fact, I always like to turn them into something pretty so that it's, you know, it's not negative. I don't leave that negative impression in my journal. So this was one of those times where I just started writing. I can't even remember what I was writing about, but they're all in between the little pictures of the flowers. And then I just added some other stickers, some quotes from pages from books, and some washi and some tape. Then this page right here, I just started adding little dots of paint. I did some like some pen work on here. Just wrote down some words that were in my head. And then this is a picture of some colored pencils that I had. I take photos of weird things. So this was a picture of some colored pencils that I've had probably for 2 or 3 years just in my stash. And I thought the colors worked really well with this. So I added this photo to this journal page. And then this over here is just a little pocket that I made. And this was a library card, and I did some journaling on the library card, added some more pen work. And then this is an old business card of mine that I found, and I really like the image on the back of it. This is from a book, and when I first started my rebookery, I would make my own business cards with book pages on the back, and then my information for my business on the front. So this was one of those cards, and so I'm just sticking it in there. Then this page, I actually did a flipogram on my Instagram of how this page came together. And this was a really cool page because I used whiteout, highlighter, one color of paint, and a Sharpie marker, a glue stick, and then some paper. And it was very cool because I just had a limited amount of supplies, and I ended up and was able to come up with a spread that I thought was really cool. So the whole point of this was I needed to, again, get out journaling, and I didn't need to read the journaling again. So that was how I did all my journaling all over the place, this way and that way. And then I went back through and cut out some images of, just happened to have a piece of paper in the little pile that I was using that was about cacti or about different cactus. So I grabbed those out, and it was funny because I actually found that the cactus, the whole thing about having the prickles and the sticky parts and then the beautiful flowers, it actually was kind of what my journaling was really about. So it's kind of funny how things will come together. And so the cactus actually turned out to be the whole point of my journaling, even though it was an afterthought. And I also thought it was funny because some of the names of the cactus, like this is a nipple cacti. And I'm sorry, I think that's kind of funny. So this was a page I really love. Really love how this one turned out, just because there's so many layers of meaning that went with this page. And this was a quick page. I got this done in probably 20 minutes, start to finish. It was just one of those times where I was raring to go. These next 3 pages, I actually did process videos on, and I will link those in the description below, but I won't go through and talk about too much of them just because for sake of time. But just wanted to point out, this is a picture of my grandmother, and I use this image a lot in my journaling, and so I always love using that one. And then back here with my little pocket and my envelope that I made, that I made like 20 before I could figure out how to make the envelope. So that was my insert number 1. My insert number 2, I've just started in. Again, I make my own inserts, and this is just some artwork that I had laying around from some scraps that I had played around with a while ago. So in this one, this is the inside cover, so it's just cardstock on the back and an image from a children's book. This was kind of about, you know, a lot of times, especially in the winter, I would just as soon stay inside and, you know, not leave the house, especially on the weekends. But this was a weekend in particular where my husband's like, come on, let's go do something. And I really wanted to stay home. And I was so tempted to say, no, I just want to stay home. But then I realized if I never go out and do stuff, then I'm never going to have stuff to write about. And so that was kind of like, oh, yeah, duh, you got to go out and do stuff if you want to have some stories and memories. And then this was Valentine's Day. So that's where I got the colors and stuff from. But this was some Valentines that some of my kids gave me. And when you teach 14-year-olds, Valentine's Day is, you know, not really a big thing, not like in elementary school. So to get a Valentine from some of my kids is kind of special, because most middle schoolers don't walk around and give Valentines, especially to their teachers. This was a piece of foil from a Hershey's Kiss, and then I just did some pin work around it. This is some wallpaper, or some wrapping paper. And then the one of the Valentines that my kids gave me, I actually made into a pocket, and then the other one, this little card, was just some journaling, and I had put another Valentine that one of my kiddos gave me. So that was my Valentine's. I love Valentine's Day. This was a, let's see, piece of cardstock. So this was a cardstock paper, so it was already thick. And then I just took a page from a children's book and put that on there, just because the story was called Run and Hide, and I don't know, those words spoke to me. So I stuck that on there, and that sat there for a while, and then I just started doing some doodling because I couldn't really think about what I wanted to write about on this one. And then I just started to write some words in pencil. I can't even read them, in between the lines of the text. And just these, it doesn't really tell a story. It's not a narrative. It's not facts about anything that happened. It's just thoughts that were in my mind. Added a few little sticky notes. Then on this side, I had a lot of journaling I wanted to write. So I did this technique on one of my process videos, where I hate to start at the top and go from left to right and from top to bottom. So I turn my page and I just start writing in one color, and then I'll turn and I'll start writing in another color, and then I'll turn and start writing in another color. So this is what I did on this one. I absolutely have no idea what I wrote about. But whatever it was, it felt good to get off my chest. And the best part was that by the time I finished journaling, and I did it in pretty ink because I wanted it to look pretty, I came up with some things that I needed to stick to, some goals that I needed to put in my head and stick to. And so it was awesome because nobody told me these things. I didn't have to go to therapy to figure out how to do these things. It was just something that came to me as I was going through journaling. And so I love that. I thought that was awesome because that's what journaling is all about. It's about therapy. It's about finding out about yourself, and it's about working through your problems and celebrating things that are successes and that are happy in your life, but then also being able to reflect on things that maybe you needed to to change or do a little bit differently. And then a picture that I put with this one is of me when I was in kindergarten, and it has nothing to do with the page. I just felt like, you know, this was something that this picture needed to go with this page for whatever reason. And I love how the colors and all that turned out. This page I did I do a process? I think I did a process video on this one, so I won't spend much time talking about this one, but this is another one. Oh, this is the one where I did the journaling one way and then turned it the other way. And then if you haven't watched the process video, this was a Instax or a like one of those mini Polaroids that the picture never printed out. So I just took the blank one and then stuck another photograph on top of it, just taped it on there. So this is a process video. This was the opposite page of that, which had a pretty piece of wallpaper on it. It was some book paper. It had wallpaper on it, and then I just put, because I love food so much, I put a couple of pictures of some food places that we went to on a Friday night. And yes, we got pie and donuts in the same Friday night. But I don't have a lot of vices. Sweets are my vices. So this was something that we don't do very often, so I put that in here. And then this was, this was a day when I splurged and I got a watercolor set. This one right here, which my little paints keep falling out. But so I got this little watercolor set and I was super, super happy. This was a splurge item for me. And so this was me putting all kinds of my watercolors and stuff on here and just writing about the weekend we had. And just, I don't know, the little trips that we took and the things that we did and some of the things that I got on that weekend, and that it was 73 degrees, which I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and on February 20th, it's not supposed to be 73 degrees. This page was, again, just me playing with the watercolor, and then I did some pen work. And I love how the colors all came together. And then I just found this image of this flower that I had cut out of a book, and I stuck that on there and just wrote about, I think I said it's going to be a good fruit week: strawberries, blackberries, clementines, blueberries, and apples. So we had just gone to the grocery store and we'd gotten a bunch of fruit, and it was one of those times where every single piece of fruit that I bought was actually good. So I like to document things like that. Then this page this was like an entire weekend worth of stuff, but I went to one of my favorite thrift stores and I found this ribbon, or this trim. I actually got a couple different spools of it, and I laughed because these are like 1990 colors. I swear, my first house when my husband and I got married, I think, was decorated in this pattern and these colors. So I was laughing because I'm like, is it too soon to bring back the 90s? Because when will the 90s be in again? I mean, you know, wow, these colors, oh my gosh. And so I started writing down what were all the names of the colors, like seafoam green and mauve and dusty rose and peach and country blue. Oh my gosh, my whole entire house was country blue and mauve. And yeah, that was just sad, very, very sad. So this was a flap that I put in, and I got it from my stepmother. Buys these beautiful calendars called Lang calendars, and then she sends them to me when she is done with them. So this is like a 2015, and I actually just got this in the mail the other day. So I literally opened it up and immediately just sat down and started cutting some of the stuff out of it. It's a beautiful calendar, and this artist, let's see, Lisa Cause. She's a beautiful, looks like a collage mixed media artist, and then they put her prints on the calendars. So I'm not using her artwork like as it's my artwork. I just like to use it as accents and just as some of my background paper. So like this was just one of the pages that I cut out of the calendar, and I put it in and taped it in with some washi. And then this was a photograph that I had, and I backed it with one of the, I just cut another page out of the calendar and just kind of loved those colors because it matched with what I was talking about. And then on the inside here, I have a fold out of some pictures that I had over a series of a couple of days. and kind of what my trees. I have a weeping willow tree in the backyard, and it's already budding, and it is February 22nd, so it should not be budding yet. And then this is my son, and he was being goofy out in the front yard, and so this folds up. And then this is just some journaling that I had done. And then over here, this was awesome because this was the day that NASA made the announcement about the 7 planets that they had found, the TRAPPIST-1 planets. And so if you're a science geek, this was kind of a cool, this was a very cool discovery. So this was my version of documenting that. So there's the sun, it's a dwarf sun in this system. And then here are the 7 planets. And then over here I have a package from a tea container, and or a little, you know, like a tea bag, the package from it. And then this is some more of the papers from this calendar, and I just cut them out into tags and added some journaling, put a photograph of some stuff that I was taking care of for my Etsy shop, and I just kind of stuck those in. And then let's fold that in. So on this page, this was the envelope that my stepmother had included when she sent me the calendars, and I loved the colors because, again, it was going back to that whole 90s thing. It's so weird how things all kind of come together. This was a day that, again, for a science geek, this was a very sad day. So this was the day that Bill Paxton died, and he is the actor that is in Twister and Apollo 13. I mean, he's in a lot of stuff, but I've watched Twister and Apollo 13 probably 50 times each, and that is probably not a lie. That is absolutely the truth. So this was a cool image that was all over Twitter and all over actually internet, but it was a bunch of weather tornado spotters and weather spotters throughout Oklahoma and Kansas had actually lined themselves up, and on the radar it popped up red, and it showed they had made Bill Paxton's initials. So I printed that out, and I didn't like the red, so I went back over the dots with blue, but I just thought that was just such a sweet thing to include. And then in this envelope is another paper from the calendar, just some part of a page that I cut out and just kind of put a to-do list on it. And then this is, I kind of had my grumpy pants on, so this was just some doodling and some words from a Winnie the Pooh book that says, "Why do you always have to be so gloomy about everything?" asked Piglet. "It's nicer to be happy than gloomy," said Pooh. And this was a transparency from a lesson plan book, and so I just stuck that on there because it said lesson 10-1, and that's a lesson that I need to constantly remember, not to be gloomy and sassy pants and grumpy pants all the time. This was just some writing that I had about how I can never get anything done when I get home from school. This is, I think, a page from a Flow magazine, and so this is the background image is just some of the Flow magazine's beautiful images, and then just some of my pen work. Okay, so this over here is actually hilarious. This was actually today. So I'm in school today, and I'm standing there talking to my students, and I noticed that there's this bulk, like where the tag is in my pants, and I've worn these pants before, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? What is this? Like, is there Kleenex in my pocket or something?" You know how they get washed in and they're really bulky. So I go over and look, and it is an entire stack of 6 clothing tags all sewn into the seam of my jeans, and I cut them out, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? What kind of a jean company would put 6 different tags?" So my kids and I, we were laughing about it because, I mean, it was just hysterical, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Look at all of these tags." So I stapled 2 of them on here because I thought that was kind of cool, and then the other 2, obviously I cut this part right here, but the other 4 I'll just stick in a journal or something, but I thought that was kind of funny. And then this page right here I put on Instagram today. This was just a page where I had, so this is a half page or a little page that's in the journal, and I just covered it with some wrapping paper. This is a packing tape transfer of a bird that I had put on the other day and didn't really know where I was going with it. This morning when I was getting out to my car to go to work, I noticed that the birds were singing and everything. Again, it's February 28th in Kansas City, Missouri. The birds should not be singing. But what it made me think of was, In the Winnie the Pooh videos, there is a series of them that my daughter used to watch when she was really little. But they would talk about the dawn chorus, and the dawn chorus was where the birds would come out every morning when the sun was coming up, and they would sing. And so it always makes me think about that when I hear the birds singing. So I started thinking about the words of the dawn chorus. I put that on there. Digging through my stash, I found a photo of some flowers I had taken last year, even though my flowers are not like that right now. This piece of wrapping paper just looked kind of like the sun. I started cutting out little images of scrap paper of the clouds, and then did some journaling about this crazy weather that we're having now and about how it reminds me of Winnie the Pooh, and then added just a few little accents. When I got home, I cut out a picture of Piglet's mailbox and stuck it on here. And so that is my completed page that I did today. And I think it's really, I love this. I love the whole thing. And then I stuck a picture of my daughter on here. Not when she was watching Winnie the Pooh, but a more recent photo. And so then that takes me up to this page, and this is what I have left to do in this insert. So if you guys have any questions, just put them in the comments below. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for every time you send me a comment and you give me lovely, kind words, and you tell me how much the things I show you inspire you, and some ideas and stuff that you've come up with. That is just so awesome. So keep it coming, guys, and let me know how your journey in journaling is going, and have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you later. Bye.